Whoa, yeah. Woo, hot. Coming out hot today. Yeah.
Are we? Are we hot?
The band sounds good today. Do people know that this band is live in studio every day? Do they realize this?
I mean, you
What
can't
people?
see. It's off camera.
Yeah.
But there's a full band. It's like Paul Schaefer. But what is like a CVS generic Paul Schaefer?
It's buzzing in my headphones today. They're really killing it. I love them.
Is that your way of saying it's too loud? I need to turn it down.
I'm feeling it today. Live from the Vanguard Group's 4th floor smokers room. Oh, it's good they still have a smokers room.
Wow, they're so inclusive.
It's the ESG industry's only weekly woke data podcast featuring BS man Matt Moscardi. Yeah.
Woohoo! Yeah, it's
Soon to be a heavily regulated ESG industry's only weekly woke data podcast. Why am I stuttering so much?
I don't think we're going to get regulated. I'm highly skeptical that a regulator would listen to this show.
In today's eggplant sullen gas called June 14th, 2023, ultra nerdy ESG headlines, a peek into our alternative democracy, a bunch of dorky regulation news, courtesy of Matt Moscardi, and a word from our sponsor.
Yes, our sponsor, who is?
Our show today is being sponsored by S-Gage, your ESG data solutions provider.
S-Gage. S-Gage, the only one who has courage enough to sponsor this show.
I don't want to talk down to our audience, but I really don't like when they start clapping during the plug. But they get excited by S-Gage.
They get excited. They don't get to talk about S-Gage every day.
It's true. No, you're right. Paul will be stopping by later to talk about increases in total compensation and perquisites.
That sounds like the start of a really bad bar joke.
Or a really good bar joke, depending on how Paul phrases it. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do this.
Once again, I've amassed a bunch of weird ESG headlines. Maybe there's some good stuff in here. I can't tell, though. I'll
be the judge of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm gonna watch your face go from moderately excited to absolutely comatose in like 3 minutes. All right,
that's correct. It's already happened.
First, let's get the big one out of the way. The EU proposes to regulate ESG ratings providers. Here's a quote from You're booing. The audience is booing.
I guess they don't like regulations.
Here's a quote from European Commissioner for Financial Services. ESG ratings agencies that score companies on governance factors are completely unregulated. So it's very difficult to compare ratings by different agencies. We have no clarity on how these ratings are reached, and there appears to be a conflict of interest. That might be true, the last part.
That might be,
for some. But there's a super level of clarity. First of all, it's called the methodology that they publish.
Yeah, they all publish their methodology reports.
Also, what about this part? ESG ratings agencies score companies on governance factors. They're leaving out the E and the S there. Why?
Yeah, no,
they don't know what ESG is.
There is an E and S in ESG.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. In my roundup, I'm going to explain how they are micromanaging the E and the S somewhere else.
Okay.
So that's why they're only talking about governance here. They're just talking about, it's just a lot of different places.
Is that all you have to say about this?
No, what I have to say about this is without a doubt.
That wasn't enough. Yeah, go ahead.
The greatest opportunity for board sabermetrics in our lifetime.
Us, our company, Free Float? Why?
Our company. This is our great moment. Here's why. We do not create ESG ratings.
No.
That is true.
That's it.
However,
That's it.
we do give you the power and performance of individual directors, which means we will not be subject to this regulatory measure, but you can use us the way you might have used ESG ratings. Does this mean we just, like, every European investor should be calling us and being like, how about you just give us your data so we don't have to use those ratings that are now going to be useless to us?
It sounds like we need to hire a sales and marketing team.
That would be nice.
Because I don't think they know about us.
Do you have a plan for that?
Yeah. No, I don't. Biogen has taken a step to significantly refresh its board of directors. This includes, the board sabermetrics headline here, Matt, is 43% of the influence at Biogen just walked out the door.
Holy moly,
But here's who's
that's
stepping
a lot.
down. Here's who's stepping down. The chair, Stelios Papadopoulos. Oh, a Greek man. I like
Good
that.
name.
And Alex Denner, William Jones, and Richard Mulligan. So 4 dudes all stepping down from the Biogen board. Susan Langer has been named a new member. What?
That is the womp womp of Strive Asset Management saying,
well,
you just decreased the excellence of this board.
Wait for it, Matt. This is where the story gets weird. Okay, so Susan Langer is the only new board member announced, but channel your inner Vivek Ramaswamy, inner Strive Asset Management. Respond to this. Ready?
Yeah, okay.
Susan Langer, the daughter of the legendary MIT professor and prolific biotech entrepreneur Bob Langer, is departing director Alex Denner's romantic partner.
What?
In fact, Denner himself nominated her to the board, and the board is calling it her presence a fresh perspective to the board. So we've never seen this before.
What is happening?
The problem here,
Vivek's right.
The problem here is that she's extremely highly qualified. I'm going to tell you this, but it's a very strange moment here in governance wonkiness.
No, I'm sorry. I'm like, there is qualified, and then there's you still got the job, not necessarily on the qualifications, right?
Okay, well, it never happens that shareholders reject a nominee, especially a company nominee.
I bet you Strive will vote against
it. But technically, shareholders could vote her down. I mean, they don't have to accept this nominee.
That's true. But could you just read the quote again?
Langer brings fresh perspective to the board. But you got to at least... I mean, this is a great moment, again, for board sabermetrics, because not only does our data show that 43% of the board influence is left, which means the whole power structure has been dismantled at Biogen, but that, again, this is the first time we've seen a departing director nominate his girlfriend to take over.
What? How much influence did he have? Like, how does that even happen?
He had 10%.
No, that's not that much. Like that, I wonder, like, how he convinces the other board members, like, trust me, my girlfriend is perfect for this gig.
Well, again, I think it's I think what's important here partly is her father, connection to her father, who I guess is a big deal in this industry.
Connections.
Right, true. She's also the president at Souffle Therapeutics. She's a founding president of another therapeutics company. She has been on the board of another How many therapeutics companies are there?
There's a lot.
The point is that she does have relevant experience.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of any company called Souffle Therapeutics, though. I just don't know what to make of that.
This is just an incredible story, though. Moving on.
This is really good.
Let's go to our alternative democracy. Toyota shareholders re-elect Akio Toyoda to the board.
Aww.
They also reject a push by some investor groups in the U.S. and Europe over his stance. They reject that. They also reject a proposal from 3 European asset managers to make Toyota management reveal more about the automakers lobbying in favor of vehicles that aren't fully battery powered. So the takeaway here is there was a big push by activist investors to do something at Toyota, which you don't see a lot of Asian companies, but they lost. Big fail.
Well, that's not that surprising. Who are the majority shareholders at Toyota? Isn't like half the family voting on this?
Yeah, and we don't have those voting results yet. We're going to see those tomorrow, so we can check back.
So we can be pleasantly bemused by how ridiculous it was in the first place.
I just like that people are getting a little hot and bothered over there in Japan. I just think it's exciting.
Yeah, Japan's
another
hot market
we
for
can
activism.
sell to. Another market we can try to sell to.
Yeah, it's a hot market. We've been asked. We've had a client ask us about our Japanese data.
I'm ready.
It's a hot market.
Put me in business class. I'm ready to go. Come on, send me over.
You got to go to a business class first.
Yeah, I'm ready. How about this? At Salesforce, annual meeting at Salesforce. Here's a new one, Matt, and this one's for you. Another anti-ESG shareholder proposal, this time at Salesforce. This one from the National Center for Public Policy Research, one of your favorites.
Yeah, I like them.
Here's the proposal. Forbidding company directors from simultaneously sitting on the boards of directors of other companies.
I'm actually a little conflicted about this.
Yeah. The anti-ESG movement has gone have gone so rogue that they're
all the
now
way around?
ESG. They're now ESG.
We're all the way back, right? Because this is called board interlocks.
Yeah.
They are essentially saying, Salesforce, we should forbid board interlocks. I don't know why they'd start with Salesforce. Salesforce is not the most connected board.
I'll tell you why. Because Mark Benioff is sort of a liberal poster child.
Sure. And that said, there's
that's
a
why.
lot of other
That's
companies
why.
with board interlocks.
No, it's because Mark Benioff is a known supporter of the Democratic Party and DEI efforts and ESG initiatives. That's
the
why.
vast irony.
That's
that
exactly why, Matt.
The National Center for Public Policy Research, like their advisors are like from the Heritage Foundation, which is highly interconnected. I mean, basically, if we look at them and their boards, they're all interconnected, right? Like so. But it is the G coming full circle. Mm-hmm. Is this just G now? Or is it ESG? What is this? I'm a little conflicted by this.
Feels like G. Let me tell you a quote from the National Center for Public Policy Research from the actual proposal. Salesforce is not alone in this regard. Nearly all large corporations are guilty of contributing to the corporate incest problem that's plaguing the management of American business.
Wow,
This got oddly
like this.
religious though and biblical, right? They got a little weird right there. Incest. Did we need to use that metaphor?
We talked about incest, board incest all the time back in the day. So
they also said, in other words, the sharing and swapping of board members between corporations. It's very sexual. I'm just saying all this.
It does feel like a key party.
I know, but this is how the religious right, how they typically act. They're very horny because, they're very pent up. I'm sorry, but this is always how it's been. This is always how they've acted. In other words, the sharing and swapping of board members between corporations has given rise to, wait for it, Matt, an elitist managerial class.
Oh, there it is. Oh, I was
that
wondering
has sway over most large companies at the same time. Yeah, there you go.
I was wondering when a globalist conspiracy theory would happen. Thank God is in there.
The results of this vote, to no one's surprise, are the in support of this proposal less than 1%. That's 0.5%. 0.45%. Yeah.
I wonder how much of this though is the messenger, not the message. Because look, our data we actually have on our platform that's launching in the next 4 days. We have on our platform the percentage of directors that are connected to one another, right? So you can see very quickly how incestuous a board is. And
how much swapping is going on, you mean? How much
we're like a data provider.
Swapping and sharing.
We do analytics and data providing. And the National Center for Public Policy Research talks about globalists and wrings their hands about trans people. But if we gave the same data to an investor, do you think that a shareholder proposal built on our data would get 0.45%
I hope
in
not.
support?
Hopefully we'll find out soon.
I think we're at 0.47% at least, right?
Yeah. I mean, I agree that there are elements of this that I would support, but a total in governance circles, the acceptable amount of other boards is what? Is 3 other boards? Is that acceptable?
3. It's 3 max boards.
Unless you're an executive where it's 2 max boards.
2, yeah. That's like the best practice-y.
The part that bothers me here is that I don't know why you would argue against, like, say you're on the board on Apple and you're also on the board of some related stakeholder that could help Apple, right? Could help the bottom line of Apple. I mean, to completely forbid all other boards, that just seems a little knee-jerk to me. That's like it sounds like they're trying to dismantle the cabal of Jewish business people sucking the blood out of.
That
right?
is a
Like
conspiracy
they're
theory
getting
for
very. That's where they get very conspiracy theory laden.
Look, I agree with you, but part of the problem with all of the anti-woke is I don't know if they went to school where there were only like ones and zeros, like everything was taught in a pure binary sense and there was no gray in the world, because it's a dumb proposal to say ban totally.
Just completely ban it.
Just completely ban it.
Because that could
right?
affect the bottom line in a negative way. And I actually did a little bit of research into the schools they do go to. They tend to go to schools in the South. I don't know what that means. They go not a lot of northern elitist college, a lot of southern education.
No, but they're globalists at the end. I mean, I think globalism is it's like COVID. You can catch it when another globalist sneezes on you.
Moving on, in a story that we've been covering all spring, support for ESG shareholder proposals plummets amid GOP backlash. Average backing for these resolutions has fallen to 22% this year, down from 33% 2 years ago.
I mean, come on. We're saying this because of the GOP backlash.
Yeah.
But is it?
We don't know.
Is it really? I mean, when you look at the real numbers, right? Like, there wasn't that much in the way of support for any year prior to last year to begin with. Like, what are we talking about here?
Well, and what this doesn't, what I couldn't figure out from this article is that, are they including the anti-ESG proposals as ESG proposals? Because those are getting
really
destroyed,
bad.
right?
They're demolished.
But they
real
are
bad.
kind of ESG proposals. Most of them, are they not?
They
qualify.
And I would say the National Public Policy, both of them, the National Legal Center for Public Policy Research, Public Policy Research Center for Research and Public Policy, whatever. There's two orgs that are anti-woke. They actually are they rank third and fifth or something for all shareholder proposals of the Fortune 250.
Oh, is that right?
They're some of the largest filers this year for shareholder proposals out of everybody, which means if they're including them in here and it says civil rights audit and they just look at it and says civil rights audit and they say that's an ESG proposal, that would be a misleading headline for sure.
All right, help me out with this quote, because speaking of the National Center for Public Policy Research, this is from Scott Shepard, who's the executive director of the Free Enterprise Project at the National Center for Public Policy Research.
He's something special, yeah.
Here's the quote, and I want you to help me with this, because he's actually responding to the horribly low support they're getting for all these stupid
he's saying
proposals.
Stuff. Okay, good.
But help me, that this is a mouthful, and I don't really understand what his point is. He says, all we are seeking in every effort we're taking is to get companies back to neutral, he said. So they are admitting ESG is left-wing and partisan by calling us anti-ESG, but we'll take it because the admission itself is pretty huge. I think we can score that as a big win for our team. Matt, what the hell is he talking about? Help me out there.
He's saying,
what the hell? Yeah.
I think isn't he saying that because we've been labeled anti-ESG, we've won?
Because that proves that ESG is the left wing?
I'm not sure what I think that's a quote in search of a win, because it would be really hard to say that 0.47% of the vote was a win.
It's a major
somehow.
loss. Yeah, and in fact, they're all these proposals are just getting ridiculed constantly.
Look, Scott, here is the real thing that you should, not that I should help you, but here's
the
thing that you should be saying.
You should be helping him. He needs it.
Okay, we'll help him. Help him. Scott, the thing to say is the people voting on your proposals are all woke. And that's why that proves you getting low votes proves that the system is woke and against, conservative values. That's all you say, right? The big win is, see, we prove that the system is full of woke asset managers because they're voting against conservative, he would call them pragmatic conservative proposals.
Excellent proposals.
Right?
Here's the
work
problem
for the National Center for Public Research Policy Research Center Legal.
Here's the problem, Scott, is that you've been praying to the altar of shareholders, right? Shareholder value, blah, 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 blah. But 99.5% of all shareholders hate you. So you got to honor the voice eventually, right? Like, do we believe in the shareholders or not?
No, he's praying to Jesus, not shareholders.
Also, Scott, I got to tell you, One of the reasons why they're ridiculing you is not because of their political stance, it's because you repeatedly come with these proposals with absolutely no data to support anything, no criteria,
Zero.
no methodologies,
There's
nothing.
There's no data.
We
there's
can
no
actually help you out
reasoning.
with that if you're listening. I know you're
In
listening.
fact,
yeah.
for some of the proposals that you've gone, and I think this was Disney, or there were a few of them, you basically said that people are hiding their board member or their company's affiliations with things. Oh no, it was Hilton or Marriott. They were hiding their affiliation with the World Economic Forum, and you forced the company to respond, we had it in our hotel. Like, we made money on that thing. We're just getting people to come stay in our hotel. I'm not sure why this is a shareholder proposal. So maybe you need board sabermetrics, is what Damien's saying.
Oh, you definitely. No, not maybe. Yeah. They definitely need it. Let me wrap up with 3 quick stories. A lawsuit brought by kids in Montana could determine if the state has a constitutional duty to protect its residents from climate change. The outcome has the potential to set an important precedent in the fight against climate change. This could be something. Could be something brewing in Montana.
Montana does not like ESG, so this is
That's why the setting for this lawsuit is so interesting. The railroads have finally offering paid sick leave and adopting a bunch of labor-friendly policies, such as predictable shifts to help address a bunch of horrible treatment of workers there in the rail.
I don't know. That
yeah, go ahead.
sounds a bit woke.
Does sound a bit woke. This is coming from Union Pacific, CSX, and Norfolk Southern. And finally, I had some really big news out of Uber. Uber commits to emissions-free Uber Eats deliveries by 2040.
How does that even work? How can they commit to that when it's not even their employees?
Remember now, this is only the Uber Eats deliveries part of Uber, and this
I'm
is
so
in 17
confused.
years.
In 17 years, they're going to find enough drivers with electric
But
vehicles.
not all the Uber rides, just the Uber Eats deliveries. Just your tater tots.
All right, here's what I got. You ready?
Oh, always.
It's not that good. Don't be ready. All right, I got I want to keep this quick because I honestly bore myself thinking about it.
No, I'm already bored. Go ahead.
But the EU's been regulating a lot of stuff, and it's really hard to get away with.
That's what they do.
Not talking about. So
that's their jam. Yeah.
Damien already mentioned the new proposal to regulate ESG ratings, but there was another massive drop this week, a long-awaited drop. The Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive, or CSRD, was published by the EU Commission. The draft of the bill was published. This is obviously, I don't want you to confuse this. This gets confusing. I don't want you to confuse this with the European Sustainability Reporting Standards, or ESRS.
I wouldn't do that.
Or the prior Corporate Sustainability Due Diligence Directive, which is CSDDD.
What about the fourth Bourne movie? You know, there was Bourne Supremacy, all those movies. Wasn't the fourth one called the Bourne Due Diligence Directive?
Yeah, due diligence directive, I believe. And don't get there's also SFDR and the EU taxonomy. I don't want you to get confused with those things.
Okay.
No, this was an 11-page discussion directive, with a 247-page annex outlining every conceivable ESG rating data point that's ever been used in excruciating detail.
I like this.
And it had to be accompanied by a third document that was a 33-page dictionary just for the terms used in the 247-page annex.
Wow.
I did a word cloud.
This sounds like valuable stuff, at least for us, no? Could this be useful to us?
No.
No.
I mean, look, all they did was summarize everything that's been in CSR and sustainability reports for the last 10 years. And they took from... SASB, and they took from the GRI, and they took from all these other reporting frameworks and standards, whatever. Sure. But I did a word cloud of the 247-page annex, and the most used word is the word undertaking. And the most used phrase is, if the undertaking is.
Ooh.
They're already admitting that this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is a massive undertaking, and it's ridiculous. They are I think we've gone beyond micromanaging ESG at this point. Now we're just into, I mean, like why don't you just write my report for me, teacher? Because
But is this
bananas?
Is this part of the push to regulate the ESG ratings industry? Or is this separate?
This is separate. This is the push to. This is at the corporate end to regulate what corporations have to disclose, or what's voluntary or what's not voluntary, and
then,
what form
okay.
that disclosure should take.
But then this eventually will feed into how they regulate
This
the
eventually
industry, right?
feeds into the ratings.
Yeah,
So now the
eventually.
ratings probably, if this passes as drafted, and it's slated to go to vote, I think at the end of June, then the ratings ostensibly are supposed to only use this standardized data to create their ratings.
Right.
That's sort of what's happening.
Okay.
But meanwhile, in the United States, in
Yeah.
case you didn't think it was confusing enough, because if you're a company or an asset manager, now you're multinational, you're dealing with this. Meanwhile, in the U.S., Ted Cruz just put forth he nominated to the Senate a bill that already got nominated in the House called the Stop ESG and the TSP, or Thrift Savings Plan bill.
Okay. Very specific.
It's very specific. The Thrift Savings Plan is the plan for all federal employees in the U.S. And it is, I want to give Ted Cruz credit.
Yeah.
Okay.
For once.
Because, we don't like Ted Cruz, giving Ted Cruz credit, I guess.
No.
Because this is the cleverest anti-ESG bill I've ever seen.
Well, he went to Harvard, so he's a very clever man.
The bill is one paragraph long.
Oh.
It is an addendum to an existing code. The
Okay.
code, it's Part 5, U.S. Code 8438, describing how the Thrift Savings Plan is executing effectively their proxy voting. It says, quote, the board, other government agencies, the executive director, an employee, a member, a former employee, or a former member may not exercise voting rights associated with the ownership securities by the Thrift Savings Plan. So they tried to get rid of conflict of interest.
Okay.
By saying, like, if you manage the Thrift Savings Plan, because you're a federal employee, you can't vote on the proxies because there's too much conflict, right? You could be.
I'm not sure I understand that, but okay.
Well, it's basically like your government. You can't tell the companies what to do because you're a government employee.
Got it.
Like they don't want that conflict.
Got it.
Cruz has suggested an amendment that adds one. It's like 5 words. He wants to add to that list of people that cannot vote on the proxies, quote, a qualified professional asset manager.
What? So like BlackRock?
Yes. Cruz's
what?
anti-ESG proposal is to change the Thrift Savings Plan so that now no longer asset managers can vote on the proxies in the Thrift Savings Plan. That is his.
Doesn't that sort of run counter to the whole point of shareholdings that you?
That is correct.
Having the ability to exercise your vote.
He basically said the federal government is no longer to have any of the rights of a capitalist system.
Who does he think the federal government is made up? Just of all of George Soros's children?
He had a lot of children, didn't he?
Yeah, but okay. This is just I don't even okay.
At the same time,
yeah.
This week, Bernie Sanders on the other side sent a letter to his richer, older, whiter doppelganger, Warren Buffett, asking how insurers can justify underwriting insurance contracts to oil and gas anymore.
Good question.
And now I'm really hoping to set up for Bernie Sanders, Warren Buffett hearing.
Bernie v. Buffett.
That would be the greatest hearing in the history of hearings.
2 of our favorite populist blowhards from both. Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I don't. I think Buffett actually probably agrees with a bunch of stuff that Bernie says, but not completely.
I don't.
Some of the stuff.
I don't think so at all.
Well, Warren is committed to giving back isn't he given the billionaires pledge? Isn't he going to give all of his money back?
Yeah, I think it's his pledge or something. Isn't
Right,
it?
but again, he's
running
not. But he's
that
not going to
pledge?
get. But Bernie wants to would prefer to tax that, so the government decides how to spend it. Whereas Warren's going to decide how to spend it on his own. Right? Is that it?
Yeah,
That's the
think
difference.
so. Warren's asked for higher taxes, but he also
Right.
doesn't want unions or anybody to tell his companies what to do.
No,
Bernie
and he
likes
wants to
doing
invest
that,
in
so.
oil and Coca-Cola.
But can you imagine Bernie Sanders in his blustery way, like
Yes.
sitting at the,
I would love that.
saying like, "Mr. Buffett,
Yeah.
I want to know what you're doing about oil and gas underwriting. Yes or
Wow.
no?" Like, and then Warren Buffett being like folksy, like, "Well, back in Oklahoma,
Yeah.
or Nebraska,
We don't have a
say-
lot of Jews in Nebraska, Bernie.
I mean, like, what is it? It's going to be like the greatest.
Yeah.
That could be the greatest. And then finally, I want to wrap up with this because if you're not confused enough, I did a quick anti-woke ranking
I don't know what that
for
means.
shareholder proposals.
Okay. What does that mean?
I looked at Proxy Monitor, which is a great
Mm-hmm.
resource. Go look at it if you don't have access to data. It's free. Proxy Monitor does the proponents of proxy
Yep.
shareholder
the
proposals.
people who bring the proposals to vote. Yeah.
Everyone who brought it to a vote, and it shows you the outcomes.
Okay.
So the end of proxy season is effectively, it's wrapping up right now. So we got a good sense of who's winning. And
I like this. I like this.
the biggest winner of proxy season so far for proposals that are not board director proposals is management.
Oh, shocker.
93% median. That's the median
Wow.
vote for a management
So
proposal.
there's not a left-wing cabal
There appears to
destroying
be
corporate America.
No cabal.
Okay.
The next highest, the highest like non-management is John Chevedden.
Nice.
Yeah, 32% median vote. They're almost 33%.
He puts up some very typically governance. All very
It's all governance. Yeah, it's
yeah.
all
So it's
like-
not really polarizing stuff. Most of it is pretty much common sense these days. So that,
yeah,
that
it's
does
like
not
majority
surprise
voting
me.
and
Yeah.
CEO chair separation,
Doesn't
and
surprise
things
me.
like that. But third on the list
Yes.
are the nuns.
Yes.
Yes, the
But which
Sisters of St.
nuns?
Francis.
Okay,
the
St.
Sisters
Francis,
of St.
yeah.
Francis.
They're a
31%
little
median.
shrewder over at St. Francis.
Well, that's it's showing.
They drink
right?
a little bit more coffee over there, so they're really on top of it.
At the bottom of the list, and
Oh,
this is
no.
only proponents with
Oh,
at
no.
least 5 shareholder proposals at the Fortune 250.
Oh, no.
Okay, at the very bottom of the list, at a stellar median of 1.5%,
Oh no.
the National Center for Public Policy
Oh,
Research.
there you go. And we just talked about them.
Just above them, at second to last, the National Legal and Policy Center at 7%.
I actually do hope they're listening and they do use our data, because I bet we could get that number up next year if you actually use relevant data for your
How dare you?
to support your bullshit. Yeah.
In case you were wondering, the top proposals for support this year, lest you think they are just racial equity audits and trans tuck bathing suits,
Yeah.
and gay pride parades.
Yeah.
The top vote getting was say on pay. 93% median say on pay.
So they're just a complete rubber stamp yes to all pay proposals, despite
So
what
when-
Paul is about to talk about coming up.
when we're
Yeah.
talking about wokeism in corporate America, we're talking about 93% median vote for say on pay. That's what we're talking about. And the next two are simple majority voting at 51%. People like to have majority votes. It's democracy. I like that.
And I like how the simple majority voting got just the majority of the vote, 50.7.
50.7.
It almost seems like
yeah.
a setup, that one, yeah.
And then special meetings
Ooh.
got 36%.
Who doesn't love a
Change-
special meeting? Yeah.
Changing how you can call special meetings. Last on this list
Mm-hmm.
are the wokest of all woke socioeconomic system risks.
Oh yeah. Systemic
Meaning
risks sound very woke to me.
And in case you were really concerned about wokeness, human rights came in at 9.9% median, animal rights 7.3% median, civil rights 2.2%
Oh,
median,
yeah.
climate 13% median. Remind me when corporate America got woke again. When was that? Because
Well,
According
we
to
can trace
this-
it back somehow to Larry Fink, right? That's where this started. I guess it was when he mistakenly suggested that the climate change is real. Is that where this stems? Is that where it goes back to?
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Okay.
That's all I got. Let's go. Now we got Paul, right? Paul's gonna say some
Yeah,
stuff.
let's end the show with the great Paul Hodgson from S-Gage here to talk about. I'll let him tell you.
Yeah, Paul.
It's not my job.
Paul, you're on the line.
So, as promised, is Paul Hodgson of S-Gage Statistic of the Week to talk to you today about total compensation increases and increases
on
in
pay.
those perquisites. So, we're looking at the table here since 2011 when average total compensation was $9,479,000 for CEOs in the S&P 500, median value, sorry. It's risen almost every year since then. There was a drop back in 2018 and another small drop in 2019, though not below that 2011 value. It dropped from 11,512,000 back down to just under 10 million in 2018. But then it started to climb again in 2019, 20, 21, 22. And while there is at the moment a small drop in median value in 2023 from 11,854,000 down to 11,763,000, we're still in early days in terms of data collection at the moment. Well, not early days, but we're not a full data collection at the moment. So I'm not really expecting it to go down very much. That's a drop of negative 0.8%, so not a great deal. It's probably going to catch up at least to the 2022 figures. So that's fiscal 21 and fiscal 22 we're talking about here, the change. So just to kind of give you that demonstration that size actually does matter, I'm going to add in the Russell 3000 to that data set to see what happens, what the comparison is between the Russell 3000 and the S&P 500. So the S&P 500, as we noted, is $11,763,000 for a median value for CEO total compensation. It's less than half of that in the Russell 3000. It's $5,312,000 for CEOs in the Russell 3000. So as you can see, the S&P 500 is certainly keeping pace with, or it's exceeding its colleagues in the Russell 3000 in those mid-cap companies by a considerable amount. So let's have a look at increases in perks and other compensation. So we'll just look at the S&P 500 again for this. So just looking at the values at the moment, the median values for perks. So in 2011, it was a median of $144,000 for each CEO. And that's risen pretty substantially into 2023 of $232,000. So that's an increase. It's an increase of, well, actually it's an increase of 80% between fiscal 21 and fiscal 22, which is a pretty substantial increase. This is a kind of statistic that makes you want to look behind the aggregate data and try and find out what's driving that, because there's clearly a group of CEOs whose increases in their perks were pretty substantial. Otherwise, you wouldn't be getting an average increase of 80% between the last 2 years. I mean, is it an increase in the Amazon CEO's security detail, or is it an increase in the Meta CEO's security detail?
A lot of security.
Whatever it is, it's pretty substantial. So maybe I'll dig a little deeper for next week and find out where that might have happened. So this is Paul Hodgson signing off with S-Gage Statistic of the Week.
I gotta say,
Yeah.
that's a lot of security.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's all an 80% increase in security detail,
That's why he's talking about it, man.
I know, that's a lot. I want to end with one thing. The latest GOP polling in the United States had Vivek Ramaswamy at a solid 2.9%, but he still got a chance because the fourth most important, according to a new YouGov poll,
Yeah.
Fourth most important issue to GOP voters this year. 90% want a plan to lower inflation. That's the first. The fourth was limit transgender rights.
Wow.
That was it, the most. The transgender people make up like 1% of the U.S. population. Better limit
Is it
their
that high?
rights.
You sure that's that high? Yeah. Wow.
It's nuts, is what it is. It's nuts. That's Damian Rallis. Big special thanks to S-Gage, our sponsor forever. And
Forever.
they're our perpetual sponsor.
Yeah.
If you like this, come back tomorrow when we do a game show of some kind. I don't even know what we're doing, but we're going to do it. Until then, goodbye.